Chapter 4, Section 6 is titled The Imperial Rivalries. And in this section, we're going to look at how the Spanish and French empires in America developed in the 18th century. Because even though we focus on the British Empire, the Spanish and French empires are absolutely an important part of the formation and founding of our nation, and their contributions are still felt today. I will give a review of each section with some important details, and then I will let you know what you need to know on the test. So here you have a map of what North America looked like in the 1700s, the time period we're talking about. So in the green, of course, you have your 13 colonies, and the solid green is what is claimed by the British, and it's settled by the British, but they're also claiming the areas here with stripes. The French Empire is what you see here in purple. Here it focuses around the Mississippi River, in what is now today East Texas, New Orleans, Mississippi, and goes up through the Midwestern part of the United States. Notice it follows the main rivers and arteries of the Mississippi River. Part of that, of course, because of the forested areas in this part of the country that existed at the time, because the French were there for fur trading. And of course they controlled the parts of Canada you see there in purple. In pink or orange, you see the Spanish borderlands and Spanish holdings. Of course, they held the island of Cuba, and we know they held Florida, but you see also, of course, Mexico here in what is today Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. These are what we know up at the north as the Spanish borderlands. In France and in the French and the English colonies, you see cities and forts, especially forts here in France. But in Spain, I want you to notice the cities that were founded and the missions, because the Spanish, remember, one of their primary concerns was conversion to Christianity. The French and the English did not make that a priority. So let's talk first about Spanish North America. Spanish North America. As Britain's North American colonies grew, imperial rivalries over North America intensified. But while the colonies of France and Spain were territorially very large, they were much smaller in population and less economically developed. You need to know that the French and Spanish colonies were smaller in population and they were less economically developed. The Spanish Empire stretched from the Pacific coast to New Mexico and the Great Plains, Texas and Florida, and after 1763 included Louisiana. But its presence consisted of only a few small outposts. Spanish efforts to reinvigorate its older colonies in the early 1700s foundered. They were not successful. So eventually, in a conflict between France and Spain, Spain will wind up taking over the New Orleans area, the southern part of the country. So, what do you need to know? Again, that Spain, the Spanish and French territories, although they were huge territorially compared to England, they were less populated and less economically developed. You need to know that. That's in the first paragraph of that section. In the second paragraph, you need to know that the economy of the Spanish colonies was built on trading with and extracting labor from the surviving Indian population, especially up in what we call the borderlands, California, New Mexico, Arizona, Texas. The economy rested on trading with the Indians and using the Indians for labor. That was the basis of the Spanish economy at this time. Moving on to Spanish in California. Afraid of Russian settlement, Spain successfully colonized with missions and presidios much of the coast of California. but the diseases they introduced and resettlement of Indians resulted in the near total devastation of California's native population. So all up and down the coast, we don't think about it much, but we see the heavy Spanish influence in California, from the names of the missions to the names of the cities. So what do you need to know about this section? You need to know who Father Junipero Serra is. He founded the first mission in California in San Diego, the very first one in San Diego. You need to know also that Serra was widely praised in Spain for converting thousands of Indians. He taught them Spanish, and he taught them how to farm the land, and transformed them from hunting-gathering communities into agriculture and craft communities. But of course, this was done by sheer force, forcing the Indians, cutting off water supplies. It was not done in a very humanely way in many cases. Let's take a look at the French Empire, the area in purple. The French were a far greater threat to the British power in North America. During the 18th century, the 1700s, the French population and economy of Canada expanded, while French traders pushed south from the Great Lakes and north from Mobile and New Orleans. By 1750, 10,000 French colonists and slaves lived in Louisiana, mostly working around sugar plantations. Although much smaller in population and economic power than the British colonies, the French colonies, especially in their alliances with powerful Native American tribes, posed a real threat to British Americans. So what you need to know is the second paragraph of that section, the French Empire, the very first sentence, that the population of French North America continued to be dwarfed by the British colonies. In other words, it was much smaller than the British colonies, the population. And that's really all you need to know about that section, the French Empire. And that ends Chapter 4, Section 6, a brief review of the Spanish and French empires. If you have any questions, please reach out.